What is going on, everybody? Hope you guys are all having a fantastic start to the week. Tons of information to get into today. First and foremost, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Central Bank of Russia, their trials of XRP and Ripplenet based on a new announcement by Putin, basically stating that there is going to be this international kind of payments platform that Russia is going to be participating in and building and facilitating. Dealing on the basis of digital currency and blockchain, which came out over the past couple of days here. First and foremost, the cascade effect from FTX and Alameda continues, and major crypto lender BlockFi filing for bankruptcy protection. As of today, New Jersey-based BlockFi obviously did have links with the crypto exchange FTX, which filed for bankruptcy protection earlier in November. Never really participated in BlockFi, but I know that those effects are certainly widespread. Bitcoin Magazine with the due diligence here. BlockFi has 1 to 10 billion in liabilities, so that's a pretty wide range there, but only $256 million of cash on hand. Moving forward, we also saw a few days ago consensus. Now we know as far as Ethereum is concerned, there's ties with JP Morgan, there's ties with Consensus and Infura. And there was a privacy update that came across from MetaMask users, essentially stating that IP addresses were being collected for those using MetaMask. Now, Consensus and Infura coming out with a statement saying that nothing has changed in the way that MetaMask and Infura operate. Even on top of that, Infura stating that they don't properly exploit the information that they collect. And Consensus doesn't monetize the information as some Web2 companies do. I think they might be missing the point a little bit, though. When we talk about DeFi, decentralized finance, digital sovereignty, and all of these different aspects, I wonder what would happen if a firm like Consensus or Infura were subpoenaed in a court of law to provide information on users. So Consensus and Infura saying that they don't monetize or utilize the information is one thing, but they're still collecting it, right? Which is concerning. And their statement about this is kind of going against the point of decentralization and what this space is about. On the subject of decentralization, digital sovereignty, I've said this multiple times, obviously, a lot of the aspects and research around privacy, digital sovereignty that I facilitate, sponsored by the XX network. And they came out with a good announcement late last week. I think this was Friday. Excited to partner with Nova Wallet app to bring XX Network to the Substrate, and the wider crypto space. Thanks so much from the dev team at Nova Wallet. So we're seeing more wallet integrations for XX, which is awesome. Now, if you're not aware, Gavin Wood, the founder of Polkadot Kusama, co-founder of Ethereum, Parity, Web3 Foundation, building on Polkadot, all things web. He actually retweeted this. This came out back in September. ChainSafe and XX Network collaboration to introduce post-quantum security to signatures on Substrate. So lots going on. Here's the full article about post-quantum security to signatures on Substrate. Again, shout out to XX, the Nova Wallet integration. I'm sure that we have not heard the end of that. If you're interested about Substrate, it's kind of the underlying tech. Especially we think about Polkadot, Substrate is like that underlying technology regarding Polkadot, but there are other ecosystems as well. Crust Network, another XX partner, but Energy Web, there's like over 150, I think, projects being built out on Substrate. So cool website to look at, substrate.io, ecosystem projects. Certainly check out XX as well. What they're doing with privacy, digital sovereignty, Speakeasy as far as the kind of that decentralized social application that utilizes mixed networks, which we've seen more and more about. I've tested it out. You'll be hearing more about that from me in the future as well. All right, so this video and kind of the cornerstone of this video is this announcement that just came out over the past couple of days here. Putin calling for creating an international payment system independent of interference. This certainly deals with blockchain and digital currencies. This certainly deals with the BRICS nations. You've got Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and I think that there's one or two other ones that have kind of came in the mix recently. But if we look at this right here, an independent system of international payments can be created based on digital currency and blockchain technologies, Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday. Now, we're going to get into the Ripple and XRP stuff here, and I always like paying attention to verbiage. I'm not definitively saying that Ripple or XRP, the asset, have anything to do with this, but I like paying attention to verbiage. So, independent system of international payments can be created based on digital currency and blockchain tech. It is possible to create a new system of international payments based on digital currency technologies and distributed registries. Much more convenient, but at the same time completely safe for participants and independent of banks and third-party interference. According to him, global financial institutions should reflect the realities of the multipolar world and be based on open democratic principles. In the conditions of the current illegitimate restrictions, settlements are one of the attack lines. Settlements, payments, one of the attack lines. Obviously, we've seen kind of the restrictions put upon Russia, the sanctions put upon the Russian banking system, pulling them out of a lot of the SWIFT network. Putin saying that the current international payment system is expensive and its correspondent account systems and regulation are controlled by a small group of states and financial companies. Well, this leads me back to this document that I found probably about 6 or 7 months ago from the Atlantis Press. This was released in 2020. Foreign and Russian experience of blockchain digitization by central banks, financial, and tech companies. The most interesting portion of this entire document to me, one of the toolkit projects based on the mechanisms of blockchain technology was the Bank of Russia's project on the cross-border transfers implementation. In the first half of 2018, the Bank of Russia and their Novosibirsk Innovative Laboratory conducted research on testing the possibility of cross-border settlements using the Ripple platform. The system technology assumed that the settlement participants had special accounts opened and national payment systems and addresses in the Ripple network. Reflection of operations in national payment systems could be performed both after each transfer and at the end of the trading day or at certain intervals. Based on the research results, now this is where I get into the verbiage with Putin's speech 3 or 4 days ago. Based on the research results, it was concluded that the Ripple platform can be considered as the basis for starting work on creating a system of cross-border settlements, provided that the following organizational, legal, and technical issues are resolved. They go into 5 bullet points here. The first bullet point for organizational, legal, or technical issues being resolved is the use for XRP transfers or equivalents of fiat currencies issued by each participant, aka the national bank. Determination of a mechanism for reconciling balances between the accounts of Ripple. There's a semicolon after that too, so they're leading you into these next bullet points. Determination of a mechanism for reconciling balances between the accounts of Ripple participants and the national payment system. Use of embedded cryptographic solutions on the Ripple network. Development of a procedure for determining cross rates for the internal currency, XRP, when deciding to use XRP in interstate settlements. So when they say Ripple network, they're talking about XRPL here, 100%. Maintaining correspondent directories between the addresses of the accounts of the XRPL or Ripple network participants and the accounts of the banks they serve in national payment systems. In case of using fiat currency equivalents in cross-border transfers, it's necessary to take into account sources of information on proposals for the purchase, sale of currencies, determination of cross-currency exchange rates, impact on organization of market makers, source availability and market maker liquidity for each of the currencies used. So when I say verbiage, concluded that the Ripple platform can be considered as the basis for starting work on creating a system of cross-border settlements. And the verbiage that he had just came out with was, where is it at here? Yeah, possible to create a new system of internal payments based on digital currency technologies and distributed registries, etc., etc., etc. So, not saying that XRP and Ripple are definitively being used, but we do know that the Central Bank of Russia certainly trialed XRP, certainly trialed Ripplenet as well. Now, if you really dig into what's going on in Russia, I'll try to keep this short, but it's been very interesting to watch over the past year. Sberbank certainly tying into a lot of the blockchain initiatives. Bank of Russia setting out to regulate digital asset taxation just came out a couple of weeks ago here, but quote unquote still opposed to crypto. But if you look at the licenses that have been issued in Russia, There are already 3 information system operators that were issued licenses to issue and circulate digital financial assets in Russia. Those 3 information system operators, one was Sberbank, the other 2 are Atomize and Lighthouse. Russia very much so, with a circumventing sanctions aspect, has big plans for tokenizing precious metals. Sberbank tying directly into Nornickel or Norsk Nickel. Norsk Nickel to become the first issuer on tokenization platform Atomize. Nornickel, I believe, largest producer of nickel and palladium in the entire world. Atomize, that blockchain platform we just talked about in Russia, one of 3 that are actually given the green light. Interestingly enough, on top of that, this is just at the end of September, the U.S. portion of Atomize shuts down. The Russian portion still very much so alive. Going back to 2019, this isn't the first kind of start where you have some heavy hitters in Russia, and even National Settlement Depository, which is Artem Dubanov here, chief architect at the National Settlement Depository of Russia, and Sora Mitsu on top of this. They're literally talking about tying in these settlement depositories. D3 stands for Decentralized Settlement Depository. This is a D3 network built with Sora Mitsu, and Sora has their own coin, obviously. I found this like a long time ago when Sora was like 83 cents and Sora went to like 140 bucks and never bought Sora, so I was an idiot there. But you can see Ripple network nodes, Swiss regulated financial market, Russian regulated financial market, and you literally have within this team the head of IT at the NSD in Russia, or National Settlement Depository in Russia. I did a video back on this probably 2020, right? And you can see up here, it's small, but nsd.ru, that's National Settlement Depository of Russia, basically caching this this document that I found. This is through the WFC all the way back in 2015, talking about a 2020 scenario in which Ripple became the default protocol for value transfer, FX value transfer across the board. And obviously we've had the lawsuit happen and everything else. And hedge funds operating on top of Ripplenet, the XRPL. And this ties you back into the National Settlement Depository of Russia. Sberbank on top of this, much more recently, November 14th, 2022, in discussions for a China banking operational license. There you have a little bit more of a BRICS tie-in. Sberbank completing their first blockchain transaction all the way back in 2018. Sberbank receiving a digital asset, not crypto license from the Central Bank of Russia in March of this year. Blockchain firm executes Russia's first digital asset deal with Palladium. This is Atomize. And yeah, Bank of Russia approves Atomize as first digital asset user or issuer. So that was Atomize first. I think Sberbank was second. Lighthouse is a new name to me, so I'll definitely go through that. Regardless, all the BRICS nations, we know that they've been building out, whether that be the SIPs aspects for messaging, through like the China system, or even settlements and payments. We knew that this stuff was coming, so shouldn't be a surprise to any of us. But, timing's very interesting within all of this, and looking at the trials that have went on, certainly. And I doubt that this would be something that, so completely safe, but at the same time, completely safe for participants and et cetera, et cetera. Possible to create a new system. Governments and banks don't announce this stuff unless they've been trialing this stuff for years and years. And the trials of XRP and Ripple happened all the way back in the first half of 2018. That document came out in 2020 confirming that. It'll be interesting to watch. Atomize, by the way, I talked about them. I believe they're built out using some sort of form of Hyperledger fabric. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And hopefully I can knock out a couple of them this week for you guys. But be safe out there. The market sucks. We'll see what happens. I'll talk to you guys when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.